Welcome everyone, one and all. This is the 13th episode of the Unbanned podcast, and we have one thing to say. Unbanned Smuggler Copter. My name's Jake, and I'm here with my best buddies in the world once again, Jordan.
Hello.
And Justin.
I'm still second.
We got switched up again.
One of these days, I'll find consistency in my intros. It'll happen, I promise.
I don't believe it. No, it's not happening.
See, everybody has their consistency issues on this podcast.
Just so happens that Justin's are in his deck design.
Oof. Oh.
Burn.
Alright, so we actually have not a lot to talk about this week. We found out what that mystery product, Secret Lair, is.
It's not Conspiracy 3.
Surprisingly.
Spoiler.
It makes me sad that it was way less cool than I thought it would be. It's still pretty cool, but, it's way less cool than I thought it would be.
And we'll get to that in a second. A bit later, we're going to talk about Pioneer and Historic, what's been going on with those since they're kind of the new kids on the block. And then we have a Mythic Championship coming up on this weekend. We record on Sunday, and we've only got about 5 days until it starts. So we'll talk a little bit about Standard. I haven't been playing a lot of Standard because it's really draining on me, especially after all the Oko shenanigans. But it's a pretty interesting format, and I'm sure we can throw it on the end there. So, Justin, do you want to explain what Secret Lair is?
Boy, do I. So, Secret Lair is 6 drops, I believe. It is 6 drops that are a 24-hour window where you can get them. And they all contain, a theme between the drops. That make sense?
More or less. So basically, they range from $20 to $40. And they're just reprints of cards with, special art, basically. And that's it. That's the entirety of it. You can get them this week. If you listen to this podcast tomorrow, you can buy all of them, I believe, for about $200 is what it's going for. And just have all your special cards.
The big draw of these is that it's artwork that doesn't look like it would normally appear on a Magic card. It's either really different or just kind of crazy. Like the goblins, there's one called Explosion Noises. And that one has a bunch of different goblins. A lot of them that would go in Legacy Goblins, and they have really cartoony, over-the-top art on them. They look really cool.
Same with the OMG Kittens one, which I hate the name of.
Yeah, it could have been named a little better. It's basically just cute kittens. But they took a lot of cats like Miri and Leonin War Leader, and they turned them into actual little kittens in the art. And it's really cute. It's adorable. I kind of want to buy that one for a Cat Tribal Commander deck, but I don't know if I'm going to be buying any of these because
the $40 price tag for $15 worth of cards is really not worth it, in my opinion.
The price for them will be a little bit higher if you're looking to sell them in the future. Like if you build your Cat Commander deck and then later on you want to sell it, they will be worth more because it's such an exclusive run and the art is so different. But at the same time, it is kind of saddening. Like when I look at the Explosion Noises one, I look at it and I'm like, well, there's Lackey in this, but a lot of these goblins aren't really that playable, and they aren't worth really the $20 that I'm putting into this. A lot of them are really, really cheap.
Yeah, but Lackey, Pile Driver, those are still pretty good. Goblin King is probably the least exciting one, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you see Goblin Pile Driver in some lists, but yeah, the other cards in this are Goblin King, Goblin Bushwhacker, and Goblin Sharpshooter, which they're all really good in a Goblin's Commander list, but they're not really competitively played. Bushwhacker's an 8-whack, but that's not a super expensive deck to begin with.
And I think all of these sets, all of these drops as they call them, the Secret Lair drops, are kind of more designed at casual or Commander play, just because there's no play sets here. I would love a playset of Goblin Lackey to put in my future Legacy Goblins deck. But the rest of these are not really cards that are really played in that list, and you don't get a 4 of them. So it's not really a reprint set. It's just kind of a special thing. It's kind of cool, but it doesn't really do it for me, especially since this is $30 for this whole package.
But it's not even that. It's just all of them. I don't know. I'm really disappointed. The one I'm most disappointed about is the Eldraine Wonderland, I believe it's called. Yeah, Eldraine Wonderland, where it's a snow-covered basic of each type. And that's it. It's just one of each with a pretty cool art.
The art's really cool on those. I actually like the art a lot. Would really enjoy to have them. But the fact that you only get one of each, the fact that they're just standard frame, if these were full art and foil, that would be incredible. I would be all over these, but
if these were unstable, borderless lands, I would almost warrant the $30 price tag. But paying $30 for 5 basic lands seems a little much for me.
I know some people who have paid a lot more than $30 for 5 basics. That's the thing, is I just don't think this product is targeted at me or us in general, is that just because there's a lot of things here that I don't care about. I like Serum Visions. I don't want to buy 4 copies of Serum Visions with different arts. That sounds awful to me. I want 4 copies of one of these arts.
That's the thing that's really confusing about this to me. The drop that's called Seeing Visions with 4 Serum Visions, that seems to be the one that's like, okay, this is for competitive people. It's a 4 of in a lot of decks in Modern. We included the whole play set. Obviously, this is for the competitive players. And then they made it so that all the art is different in that one. You get 4 different arts, which will appeal to some players, but a lot of players refuse to play different arts in their competitive decks because it's an actual disadvantage. You can give your opponent extra information. That doesn't come up all the time in competitive play, but if you're playing competitively, you're going to do every edge.
I know some people who just hate playing different arts because it bugs them. They just don't like having mismatching cards. They want everything to be the same, including like their lands.
That would be me.
That is 100% me.
Yeah, so this is definitely not going to appeal to everyone. I kind of think it's cool, but I don't think it's cool enough to spend $30 on it personally. That's just me.
As an aside, it frustrates me when my cards have different set symbols. If they have the same exact art but a different set symbol, it bothers me.
Oh yeah, it does me too.
The Seeing Visions drop would drive me insane.
Yeah, there's only 2 good drops in my opinion, and 1 decent one. Like the Bitter Blossom Dreams and Kaleidoscope Killers, those ones are great. I love them for their price and everything. And then the Restless in Peace is okay.
I think if you're going to buy anything from this, I think it's Bitter Blossom Dreams I kind of like, but I don't like that you just get a bunch of tokens. Obviously, you get to use them with the Bitter Blossom, so it's cool, it's flavorful, right? I like explosion sounds if you're thinking of building like a Goblin's Commander deck, or if you have a Goblin's Commander deck, because obviously it only comes with 1 of each, so it'd be a Highlander style of deck. OMG Kitties is also pretty good for Commander players if you want to build a Cat Tribal deck, which some people really like that art type, think it's cool. And then the best one is definitely Kaleidoscope Killers, just because if you want to play a 5-color Commander, it comes with 3 of them. You can run all 3 of those in the same Commander deck together and swap the Commander depending on what you want to do.
That seems like a bad idea though, because they're all different tribes.
It's the 3 5-color tribes. It's Sliver Overlord, the Ur Dragon, and Reaper King. But you're right, a lot of the cards run in each one of those kind of has crossover. The mana bases are similar.
Now, here's what you do, guys. You just run Arcane Adaptation.
You run Arcane Adaptation, Xenograft, and Conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly. And then you run the Ur Dragon as like the commander because he's the big boy. And then, and then you just
and
do all
then for
that.
game 2, you swap him out for Sliver Overlord.
Yeah, no, in between games, you can have like you can have 3 different deck boxes, right? And you'll just swap cards between them, you know?
You have 3 different deck boxes. 2 will be empty except for the commander, and 1 will have the full deck and the other commander.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of want to buy Kaleidoscope Killers just because I always wanted to build a Sliver deck. Problem is that a lot of the old Slivers are really expensive, but this might be a good way to start.
Like I said, I think if anything, I'm gonna buy the entire thing and just try and pawn it off, except the Bitter Blossom one, because I need that for the cube.
That is another good use of these, is cubing.
Yeah, cubing is definitely something that benefits from this type of thing. A lot of people love doing specific arts for their cubes, and especially how some of these come with tokens to play with the card. That's pretty cool, because you can bring the tokens with you to play in the cube.
I'm going to build a mono red cube with these.
I am a little frustrated by this, because I kind of want to just drop $120 to get a playset of all the stuff in Rest in Peace, because I need all those cards, but I don't want to drop $120.
What's in Restless in Peace? Oh, Bloodghast.
Yeah, that Bloodghast art's gorgeous.
Yeah, you get Thug, you get Loam. The Loam is kind of crazy. I actually need a Loam for one of my decks, so maybe I should grab this. It's so sad to me because this is so close to being awesome. Like, there's some cool reprints here. The art is amazing, and that's obviously the selling point. Since it's such a specialized set, I don't think it would really help to like lower Light from the Loam's price or anything like that. Just because it's such a specialized set, I don't think a lot of people are going to purchase all of these and then reintroduce them. I think people are going to buy these and then play them in their deck. They'll buy the one that's relevant to them. It's not really a reprint set like I was hoping for.
So one random thing I just noticed is that Bitter Blossom card is the only full art card in this entire thing. It's just randomly full art.
Yeah, that's really odd. That is very, very weird. I don't know why all these aren't full art. I feel like they should be.
And then also the Bitter Blossom one and the Restless in Peace also create a panorama, along with explosion sounds. Yeah, I think half of these create panoramas and half don't. But yeah, basically... Oh, crap, I forgot. If you buy the bundle, you actually do get some MTGO and MTGA stuff with it.
Oh, you get that with all of them. I actually was going to mention that. Yeah, all of them come with an MTGO redemption when you get a copy of each of them, which is really cool. Again, I wonder why we're not getting a playset, because if it's an MTGO redemption, you're not influencing the collectability of them.
There's basically no one collecting cards on MTGO, so...
Yeah, and I actually was wondering about this as well, because you get an MTG Arena redemption. You get one of the cards as a card back for MTG Arena, which I thought was cool, and I was wondering why they only gave you one, because if then you would have to just get lucky, but it says that the sleeves will be available for purchase later on MTGA, so you can get them that way, so you're not locked out of getting the sleeves.
Oh, that's actually kind of disappointing.
Well, I mean, if they're only giving you one of, like, if I want to get all the explosion sound sleeves, it's a random one. So it's like, if I want to get Goblin Lackey as the sleeve, I'm just going to have to buy 40 of these and hope that I get it, which I think is really bad. I'd rather just have them sell it directly to me.
Well, this tells you which one you're getting.
It doesn't tell you, because for the explosion sounds... Yeah, for the arena back, explosion sounds, the page for it says you get one unique code for one of the explosion sounds themed sleeves. I think it's one of the card arts. It's not all of them.
Because the bundle says Goblin King.
Oh, you get Goblin King? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
it says Bitter Blossom for Bitter Blossom, Mountain for Wonderland, Overlord for Kaleidoscope, Regal Caracal for Kittens, Goblin King for Explosion Sounds, Life from the Loam for Restless in Peace, and then the Christina Colantes, sorry for butchering that name, Serum Visions, which is... I just want to check which one it is. Hopefully it's not the one I hate the most. The okay one. It's the second best one.
But what if I want Lackey, though? Come on, let me buy the Lackey. I'll pay for it. That's okay. I'm okay with buying a sleeve on MTGA for a little bit extra. That's all right.
I don't know. I would have liked the Bushwhacker one.
I think overall we all agree that it's a pretty good product, and we're even excited to buy some of it, but originally I thought this was going to be hilariously just anti-consumer and hard to get a hold of, and it doesn't seem that bad. It does kind of suck if, like, maybe you spent your money on Black Friday Christmas shopping and now you don't have money for these.
I do have one small gripe with these that I want to bring up, but before we move on, is the 24-hour window. Now, these are an online-only order. You can't get them in your LGS, right? And they're only available for 24 hours for each of them. And I just look at that and kind of panic based on what happened last year with the, like, super special Ravnica version, you know? I can't remember what they called it.
They're called Mythic
Edition.
Yeah, with the first Mythic Edition where everyone went to go try to buy it, and then it just crashed the site and nothing worked, and most people didn't get them. That's what I'm worried about, is I'm worried I'm going to go try to buy Explosion Sounds or the 5-color one, and then it's just going to crash. I'm not going to get it, and then I'll have to buy it on the secondary market from some guy who's jacked the price to $300.
Yeah.
That's my only concern.
I would say try and order it later on in the day then, because it looks like they are starting... Sorry, it looks like the drops are starting around noon. They're starting around noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So, I mean, for us, it would be 10 o'clock. That's when it's starting. I would say go at it about 4 or 5 o'clock, or even 8. Like, try and make sure there's less traffic as possible to get in there. Because, I mean, this should be unlimited print.
Yeah, it is. I'm just more concerned that I won't get my order in.
It's basically like you're pre-ordering it, so they will print it if you order it. They said that there's going to be like a month delay, where I think they're literally printing it to order. The thing about it that bothers me is, would have been nice to have about a month advance notice, so I didn't spend all my money on MTG Arena packs, because I don't have that much money, I'll be honest. Probably not going to be able to buy these now that I think about it, and I had no way to plan. So I guess my feedback, Wizards, announce this a month in advance, please, so that I can not spend all my money on Christmas shopping.
Yeah, why would you buy gifts for your friends and family when you could buy Magic cards? Gosh dang it, Jake.
For yourself.
Yeah, I think that's part of this as well, though, is that they're thinking these would make good gifts, maybe. But if you don't get them until a month after Christmas, that kind of messes that up. Anyway.
None of my friends and family are going to buy these for me for Christmas.
Yeah, you don't know that.
Yeah, I make sure my family doesn't know that I play Magic.
So, moving on from the Secret Lair drops, we had a brand new format basically start last week in Historic, and as well, we have Pioneer still doing Pioneer things. Did anyone play any Historic last week?
I have played only Historic on MTGA. I have not touched Standard at all. I've just been playing Historic.
Same here.
So I've so far run Mono Red Goblins. I've played Phoenix. I immediately made Oko into a deck because Oko's busted. My favorite deck I've been playing so far is Temur Friends, and then last night I put together Temur Phoenix, and Temur Friends is very powerful. Temur Phoenix is a lot of fun, and also has been winning me some games. It's really, really good. Maybe I'll put up the Temur Phoenix list on the Patreon. Maybe. I don't want to reveal my power.
I literally have no comments on any of those decks. So, anything else you guys want to say, just jump in. I don't have anything to say.
Oh, you haven't been playing?
No, I've been playing. I've basically been playing Standard because that's what people seem to be interested in on Arena streams, and I was really busy this week with Thanksgiving and all of that, so I didn't play a lot of MTG Arena aside from my Saturday stream.
Yeah.
I just did the event.
What I've been playing in that is Mono Black Control mostly, and it's been really good. I got sent back to the Bronze Leagues at the end of the season yesterday, and I'm back up in Gold pretty much immediately. It's a good deck.
Yeah, I was playing... Well, I did play my Mono White deck, my old Mono White Weenie deck that I had built before everything rotated out of it. And then I faced Mono Red my first match, and I went, oh, that's right. Everything is going to be Mono Red in this event because it's the easiest deck to build.
Mono Red Kiln Fiend, more like. That deck is awesome.
And so I freaked out and went, I guess I'll build Soul Sisters. And then went 5-1 for the rest of the event with that deck. So Soul Sisters actually is pretty good.
I've played against it a little bit. I did not win. I was playing Mono Red Kiln Fiend against it, and I just did not have the removal in those games. It ended up not going well for me.
Has anyone played any Pioneer?
No, I have this problem with Pioneer. I'm excited to play it, and I really want to test things in the format, and then I remember I have to play MTGO instead of MTGA, and I just go, and now I don't feel like playing.
Yeah, I restarted my Card Hoarder subscription literally today so that I can go play some Pioneer, but basically Mono Black Aggro seems to be the best deck in the format. It's been wrecking faces all over the place. A lot of people are thinking that Smuggler's Copter is probably going to hit that ban list soon. I kind of disagree with that. I don't think it's all that bad, and I think that the deck can be fought against pretty well, but I don't have the data that Wizards has, so...
I just want to ban Smuggler's Copter because I find a card that is played in literally every deck uninteresting. That's why I really don't like Once Upon a Time, because it's like if you are in green or if you're playing creatures, you want to splash for it. And that's how Smuggler's Copter feels, is if you're playing creatures at all in your deck, you want to run Smuggler's Copter. It's just that good.
I agree with you on Once Upon a Time wholeheartedly. Every green deck pretty much can play Once Upon a Time, and probably should. Smuggler's Copter is really more ubiquitous in aggro decks than creature decks. There's even aggro decks that don't play it, like Gruul aggro doesn't really have space for Smuggler's Copter. They might play him sideboard. I haven't really seen much of that, though. It's really more decks like Mono Black, where you kind of have this mid-rangey feel to it, that Smuggler's Copter is really good. And back in Standard, that's kind of how Mardu Vehicles was. It was an aggressive deck and would be called an aggro deck, but it definitely had more grind than your typical aggressive deck because of Smuggler's Copter, because of Gideon, things like that.
I haven't been paying attention too much to the Smuggler's Copter builds, but I just see it in everything. Like, people post lists, and it's just always there as a 4-of if they're a creature deck, even in mid-range decks. I don't think it's restricted to aggro. And letting aggro grind as well as Smuggler's Copter does, I don't think is good. I love me some aggro. When aggro it dominates a format, it's kind of obnoxious. And plus, then everyone starts playing hate against my decks when I'm trying to be aggressive, and that's sad.
The format in general has been a little bit crazy because... So we had 3 PTQs this weekend for Pioneer. They called it Pioneer Weekend or something along those lines. Oh, it was even more than that. It was 5. There were 5 PTQs for Pioneer this weekend.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. And 2 of them were taken by Mono Black. It's very obvious that there's a big Mono Black representation. But oddly enough, Gruul Aggro was the top of one of them. There was 4 Gruul Aggro lists in like the top 12. There was a lot of Blue-Green Ramp, Field of the Dead decks, a couple of Nexus, an Azorius Tempo list, which looks really sick, actually. Jordan's beloved Mono Red Aggro's here, and it is not playing Smuggler's Copter.
There's not really room in the list for it, as far as I've seen. That list is too tight to put Smuggler's Copter into it, and it doesn't need help grinding because it's got Hazaret.
There are 4 Smuggler's Copter in the Tempo list, though.
See? Gotta be aggressive with the Smuggler's Copter.
There's only 1 Hazaret in the Mono Red Aggro list, though.
Unacceptable. 3 of or 4 of, at least. Fix this immediately.
Do it right.
I should probably bite the bullet and actually play some Pioneer. I've been spoiled by MTGA. It's so... I mean, when it works, it's so smooth, I should say. And then MTGO, I go and play it, I'm like, why do I have to keep clicking the same button to pass through phases? Just go through.
Yeah, it's a... Playing on MTGO is definitely an art. It is something you have to get used to and accept, and it gets better the longer you play it. You kind of just get used to the clunkiness, but I won't argue with anyone who says that's the reason they're not playing Pioneer more.
Killed my motivation to play on MTGO when they announced that it would be coming to MTGA eventually, because I just said, okay, I'll just wait for them to put it on MTGA.
Yeah, but that could be like 3 years from now, let's be honest.
That's true. I might want to actually start practicing the format before then. Also, they haven't announced that there's going to be any Pioneer PTQs like in paper in the new year or anything. They've had all these ones on MTGO, and I really should be competing in them. I should just pick a couple of them and start playtesting towards them. But it looks like, as of now, all the PTQs in the new year are going to be standard, and that also kind of kills my motivation to play it. If they announced that some of those were going to be Pioneer, I'd be way more interested.
Justin, do you have anything to say about Pioneer? Because I think it's about time we talked about Standard with that mentioning of all the Standard PTQs that are coming up.
Not really. I've sadly been behind on Pioneer stuff right now. I mean, I look through the list and it just looks like old Standards.
That's kind of one thing I like about it, is that it's got little bits of a bunch of different standards.
Like, I'm just seeing Field of the Dead, Oko, Nexus of Fate. It's all the bad stuff. You know?
Before we move on to Standard, I have to mention this. Nexus of Fate should be banned in Pioneer and Historic. Not because it's too dominant, but because that card makes for horrible gameplay that is just obnoxious. This is dumb. Just ban the card. It's not fun to play against. It's not even, like, insanely dominant, but at the same time, I hate playing against it so much. It's so irritating.
Another mention has been Nexus of Fate for the Pioneer ban list. I kind of agree. Just ban it in everything except for Modern and Legacy. I think it's perfectly fine in those formats. But Pioneer, Historic, just please get rid of it. It's not worth our time.
It's the same in Sensei's Divining Top. It makes all the games that it's in take too long.
But moving on to Standard, we have a Mythic Championship coming up this weekend. As Jordan mentioned, we have pretty much every PTQ near me and Jordan and Justin, it's all standard. I'm looking at the events right now. There's one up north of us. There's one in Vegas. All of it's standard. And I noticed on Twitter that someone mentioned there was a 2.5K PTQ, middle of, I think it's Virginia is where it was. I don't remember. Apparently got 36 players.
Yeah, people are not all that interested in standard right now. I think Oko left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and honestly, the format it's not terrible. It seems pretty diverse, but a lot of the decks are very grindy. They're not very much fun to play against. So I can kind of understand why people aren't that interested in standard, especially when there's Pioneer and Historic to be playing right now.
I would slightly disagree with the diversity. I would say it is diverse, but I wouldn't say it's very diverse. Like, when I play ranked and stuff like that, it seems like it's just Jund Food and Fires of Invention and occasional, like, Mono Red.
I don't actually see very much Mono Red, and I personally am not having any success with Mono Red. It is definitely Fires of Invention and then Cat Food. Those are the two big pillars of the format. And then everything else just kind of revolves around those two pillars. Seeing what the pros were posting on Twitter as far as deck submissions, it follows the same line. I don't think I saw a single person I follow in the, I almost called it a Pro Tour, sorry, Mythic Championship that does not have Fires of Invention or Cauldron Familiar in their deck. I legitimately did not see one.
Yeah, exactly.
So for success on Arena, I should probably just get around to crafting Fires of Invention.
All I'm hearing is if you're playing Azorius Control, make sure to pack some Lavinias in your sideboard.
Lavinia is an interesting card. I've been having a lot of success with D-Spark in a lot of lists, but I think the correct answer is just to play things like Thrashing Brontodon, Return to Nature, anything that can hit artifacts and enchantments and kind of break up those two decks combos. The Jeskai Fires list is really powerful, but if you actually remove their Fires of Invention, the only good cards in their entire list are the Cavaliers.
Or you can do what I did and just play counterspells.
Counterspells are also good against both of them.
Since they can't interact on your turn, if you can make them tap out on their turn, they just don't get to do anything. So it's like you can threaten a counterspell on something they're casting off their fires, and then when it comes back around to your turn, you blow up the fires because they're tapped out and can't interact anyway. Or just remove it on your turn and they can't do anything about it.
So that kind of pushes me towards, I think Azorius Control would probably be the breakout deck of this tournament.
I think Azorius Control looks good going into it. I think Cat Food's probably the best deck. I would say that's better than Fires of Invention just because it, I think, has a good matchup against Fires. I wish I could comment more on Standard going to the Mythic Championship, but I'll be honest, I haven't been following it. I'm tired of Standard. Standard is not my cup of tea right now. I don't like Cat Food. I kind of refuse to play it just because I think it's boring. I don't like Fires of Invention, and I've got Historic to play instead, so I've just been playing that instead.
And I've been too busy trying to brew decks and not playing them that much to know exactly what the meta is, you know?
It is interesting to note, though, that we got rid of Oko, and yet the format, while it feels more balanced, it feels like it's not just a one-deck format. It doesn't feel that much better, and I've been thinking about this a lot as I've been playing this week. I think the problem with the format right now is that you don't really get to play standard aggro. You don't really get to play any sort of standard mid-range list. It's still about these engines, even with the food decks gone, even with Golos and Field of the Dead not really doing a lot. Field of the Dead banned, obviously. You still are just trying to build an engine. Even when I'm playing green-black mid-range, it's not really green-black mid-range. It's green-black adventure engine combo where I bring a bunch of stuff out of the graveyard back to my hand, or I try and set up Great Henge, which just draws me all the cards. A lot of these cards add to like this really swingy back and forth, like you do one big thing and suddenly, oh, I just lose the game off of it type of games.
Or in the case of Cat Food, they stop you from really doing your thing and just bring back cats every turn that you don't really get to interact with.
Well, and I'm kind of wondering, because I'm not... We've just had 2 sets of bans in Standard. I'm not advocating for bans on like Fire's Invention, but what do you do at this point?
You stop playing. That's what everyone else is doing. No one's playing Standard. It's not fun. No one enjoys it right now, so they're just not playing it.
I'm just saying, from WotC's point of view, if you're in WotC's position, how do you fix this in Theros? Can you even include cards at this point? I think it's all been probably sent to the printers.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do about it right now. It's going to be just like with when Hazared was really, really good. They couldn't really ban anything else at that point. They could have just banned Hazaret, which is what they should have done. But they just left it and waited until rotation because what are you going to do? There's a best deck, and if you ban this deck, the deck under it is then going to become the best deck. They just broke Standard for like a year, so they just waited for it to rotate. That's probably what they're going to do here is, well, we broke Standard again. I guess we'll just wait for rotation because we banned like 6 cards and it didn't fix it, so we'll just chill.
What was the guy that got banned in the red deck? Not Ramen Up Ruins.
It was Rampaging Ferocidon, who's great in Historic, by the way.
And Pioneer, actually.
I don't know what you're talking about with Hazaret being the problem. Rampaging Ferocidon was obviously the problem.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't the indestructible haste 5/4.
No,
it was the little dino boy.
Could never
Can't
be
gain life.
the indestructible haste 5/4.
But you have to have 1 or less cards in hand. When are you going to do that in red?
Yeah, no, it's impossible to not draw cards in red. It's like, red basically has an emblem that just says draw an extra card every turn.
Yeah, red. I mean, do you not play the 1 in a red target player draws 3 cards?
Exactly,
In your deck?
Do you have 3 lands in play as a red player? Guess what? You get an extra card every turn. It's called a land that you can then discard to Hazaret.
In all honesty, what they could do is, God, I don't even know, man. It's just the problem is that the format itself is just not that much fun to play. So, I don't know, maybe if Theros released cards that like completely redid archetypes and made decks just very different, then maybe it might be good again. I have no clue, man. I don't want to be too hopeless here, but
I'm wondering if there's a way that we could really cut the format out from underneath itself. I've been doing that a little bit. The Arena Decklist guys, they posted, one of their community members who tweets at them posted a Gruul list that has like mainboard Karn and Ember's Shieldbreaker mainboard, so they're just kind of adapting to the format mainboard like people were with Noxious Grasp, but it's in much less obnoxious ways.
I don't know. I honestly think Lavinia is not being talked about enough for being a card that literally nopes Fires of Invention.
Lavinia says if you play something, it costs more than the number of lands you have, but Fires of Invention only lets you play the amount of lands you have. So I don't think Lavinia
I see you forgot about the second part.
Oh, what's the
which
second
says
part?
whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell.
So yeah, you could play blue-white with that and maybe keep Fires of Invention in check.
And then you play Grafdigger's Cage for the other one in sideboard.
I am interested about that because I see a lot of people playing like Leyline of the Void, which makes sense. If you're playing Leyline of the Void, that does turn off a lot of the sacrifice stuff. I haven't seen Grafdigger's Cage out of non-black decks, and I'm wondering if it's just too narrow.
I think if you're playing against the Cauldron Familiar deck, the problem is not the Familiars. It's that if you take out their cat combo, they still have a green-black mid-range deck that you have to deal with. And also green-black has a lot of ways to blow up any sort of hate if they do want to kill you with cats.
Or they're playing the Jund version and they just Corvold you.
Yeah, that too.
Honestly, something like a Tameo for them would be useful right now. You cannot sack creatures.
Oh wait, give him ideas. Sorry, I thought you were saying Tameo should be played in those decks.
No. Tameo would be a problem if you were playing it.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, those 2 cards in a sideboard, like a 3 of each in a sideboard would be really nice. Because I'm looking at a PTQ from November 22nd, and there are the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The top 8 were all either Fires of Inventions decks or food decks. They were split 4 and 4.
People need to play more Gadwick in Standard.
Gadwick's
that's
great.
Where we're at.
Gadwick is very, very good. That's for sure.
Play Leyline of Anticipation so you can flash him in.
I wonder if I feel like there's a lot of space in this format that hasn't been opened up yet, and I'm wondering how much of it will be relevant against these 2 decks. I actually am really excited for the Mythic Championship this weekend because I want to see if any of the pros just broke it. If they're just not playing either of those decks, it's like a mono blue from it wasn't even last year. Mono blue by Autumn Burchett just taking down that tournament, and no one really thought that that would take down the tournament. Reed Duke was even on the deck, and people were still like, I'm not so sure about this mono blue list, and then they won with it.
I think that when there's two main decks to target, that's when you'll see something like that happen. So if there's a deck that cleanly hits both these decks that we aren't aware of, it will definitely show up this weekend. So I would definitely be watching for it.
I'm going to throw two guesses at who's going to win this Mythic Championship. It's either going to be, if it's not a fires or food deck, I should say, it's going to be blue-white control or Gruul aggro.
If Gruul aggro takes it again, man, there's going to be so many people like, ban Embercleave, and I'm just going to laugh.
Ban Questing Beast.
Honestly, I just want to see Teferi banned. I'm so tired of that card. I just want to play tempo, and it stops me. It's keeping me from playing it.
I don't think the Teferi ban's going to come, but man, if I could go back in time and just be like, Wizards, don't print that card. No, don't do it. I'm from the future. I'll save you.
Are we done with Standard, do you think, or do you guys want to throw out a prediction?
I think I'm going to predict that Food's going to take it. The green-black list looks really good, and I think Croakeys has probably the best version of it. But Jund Korvold is just so damn good. You have got to play Korvold in that list.
I'm going to say it's going to be blue-white, because control is very good if you can tune it to hit specific decks. And right now, with how dominant those two decks are, you can tune your list to make it very good against those two.
So you just think that someone's going to like dodge every other matchup and just have a great list against the two pillars?
I think if someone does do that, and they are likely to dodge any other matchups, I mean, there's two clear like forerunners in this format. I feel like most people are going to be trying to play one of those two decks.
I can't say you're wrong, to be honest. That's probably, if I was to look at this tournament and was just sitting here talking about playtesting, that's probably where I would have gone with it too. I hate playing one of the best decks because I feel like I have a target on my head. So unless it's way in ahead, the best thing to be doing, I pretty much always play like the 1.5 tier deck. So I'd probably be on blue-white control, actually.
So before we finish up, I wanted to just do a quick little reminder of the redheaded stepchild of Magic the Gathering, Modern.
Oh, that's right. Modern does exist. We might have to do a Modern episode one of these days.
It looks like 2016 right now in the meta.
Oh, yeah.
Death Shadow and Tron are top right now.
My boy Shadow at number 1.
At least by
It's
NTG
so
Goldfish
weird.
metrics.
Dude, an Infect is being played a bit as well. I love it.
I mean, that's the fun thing about Modern, is that it will adjust eventually. When people start playing a bunch of Amulet Titan, well, Death Shadow and Infect seem pretty good against that deck.
Also, Crabvine makes me laugh. That's a goofy deck. Sorry, people just not let Self-Mill go. They want to play it no matter what.
In which format are we playing Self-Mill?
Modern. With Crabvine.
Oh, yeah. Like the Dredge replacement, because Faithless Looting is dead. I get it. I think that there's a Dredge list that's there and playable. I saw people playing, the Crabvine list, another Dredge list. I think it's good that it's not powerful, though. It's a good tier 2 deck.
It's probably just inconsistent. The main thing that Faithless Looting added was letting you grind out games and you didn't run out of cards.
Yeah, so I think definitely on the docket is a Modern episode. Maybe next week, maybe the week after, but we will find some time to talk about our not so beloved Modern format at some point, especially if Death Shadow is popular.
I'll go back to playing Storm and making everyone hate me, so that's cool.
All right, everyone. I think that's about it for us today. So we've been the Unbanned Palcast. We have a Patreon, Unbanned Cast. This has been Justin. He's dubious_Justin on Twitter, dubious_Challenger on Twitch and YouTube. Jordan has been IsItFox on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Check him out. And I am, of course, Jake the Jackal. I finally changed my Twitter name. It is Jake the Jackal now, for real. It's actually Jake the Jackal, but that's okay. It's close enough. You'll find me. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and before we go, ban Smuggler's Copter, I guess. Don't, please no, I have 4, I want to play them. Let me...
No, you're not allowed to play your broken colorless cards.
But it's so much fun, it loots and hits them for 3.
No.
It's like...
Yeah, Ferocodon's more broken.
Back to the Shadow Realm with you.
But it's like an expensive colorless bolt, come on guys.